All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling a giant. It's one of the most influential and, let's be honest, kind of intimidating books in all of economics. Ludwig von Mises' masterpiece, Human Action.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to build Mises' whole vision from the ground up, starting with just one single foundational idea. And from there, step by step, we'll see how it all logically unfolds into his most profound and, his most controversial conclusions. All right, let's dive right in.
Okay, so where do we even begin with a book this massive? Well, Mises makes it easy for us. We start right at the very core of his entire system.
Mises had this incredible belief. He thought, yes, it absolutely could. And for him, it all starts with this one big idea, a concept he called praxeology.
No, what's really fascinating about this idea, praxeology, is that it's not about what people choose. It doesn't care if you choose coffee or tea. It's all about the simple, logical fact that you choose. It's basically the science of purposeful behavior itself.
So for Mises, for something to be a human action, it has to have three key ingredients. First, you've got this feeling of, uneasiness, like something isn't quite right. Second, you have an idea, an image of a better situation. And third, you believe that you can actually do something to get there. That's it. This simple, what he called a self-evident axiom, is the launchpad for everything else we're going to talk about.
All right, so we have this very simple idea that humans act purposefully. How in the world does that lead to one of the most famous and, frankly, most heated arguments in all of economics? Well, let's see how Mises connects the dots.
Starting from that basic axiom of human action, Mises logically derived what he considered to be the absolute fatal flaw of central planning, what he called the impossibility of economic calculation.
And this table really lays out the core of the problem. Mises' argument goes something like this. If you don't have private ownership of things like factories and machines, what economists call capital goods, then you can't have a real market for them. And if there's no market, you can't have real prices emerge from buying and selling. And without prices, a central planner is basically flying blind. They have literally no way of knowing whether it's a better use of steel and labor to build a new railroad or, say, a new hospital. It's all just guesswork.
Okay, so if a central planner can't steer the economic ship, then who does? Well, for Mises, the answer isn't some manager sitting in an office or a government bureaucrat. Nope, it's a very specific kind of person, a specific kind of actor.
And here, Mises draws a really important line in the sand. You've got the manager, right? Their job is to work within the system that already exists, to optimize things. But the entrepreneur, they're different. They create, they innovate, they change the system itself. And for Mises, an entrepreneur isn't about having a fancy job title. It's a function. It's about being the person who spots an opportunity for profit that everyone else has just completely missed.
So what this means is that profit isn't just, a payment for taking a risk. No, in Mises' world, profit is something much more important. It's a signal. It's the market's way of saying, hey, you just corrected an error. You figured out how to serve what people want better than anyone else was doing before. It's a reward for being right when others were wrong.
This leads us right into another huge piece of Mises' work, his explanation for something we've all seen or heard about, those recurring, dizzying cycles of economic booms followed by painful busts. Now, according to Mises, these cycles are not a natural part of a free market. Not at all. He argued that they are caused by outside interference, specifically when governments and central banks start messing with money and credit. So here's the story Mises tells. Step 1. A central bank makes credit artificially cheap, pushing interest rates down below where they'd naturally be. Step 2. This flood of cheap money acts like a false signal to entrepreneurs. They think, wow, there must be a ton of real savings out there. So they start all these huge long-term projects, but it's an illusion. This is what Mises called malinvestment. Step 3. All the real stuff, the labor, the steel, the concrete, gets diverted into these projects that ultimately can't be sustained. And finally, step 4, the inevitable bust. The whole thing collapses when reality kicks in and everyone realizes the resources just aren't there. For Mises, that recession, that bust, is the painful but absolutely necessary process of the market trying to heal itself and correct those massive errors.
So, that brings us to the big question, right? Why are we still talking about this massive 1,000-page book that was written so long ago? Why does it still spark so much intense debate and inspire so many people today?
Well, Mises didn't invent the Austrian School of Economics, but you could say he became its standard bearer. He took the existing ideas, consolidated them, and expanded them in massive ways. His work went on to influence generations of other thinkers, probably most famously the Nobel Prize winner F.A. Hayek, and it really did provide the core intellectual firepower for what we know today as the modern libertarian movement.
When you boil it all down, Mises' entire, complex economic system is really one long, logical argument. It's an argument for a society that's built on private property and individual choice, a society where people cooperate peacefully through the market instead of being forced to obey the commands of a central authority.
And that is the central challenge that human action really leaves us with. The final question it poses is this. When we try to organize society from the top down, the risk isn't just about economic inefficiency. It's not just about wasting resources. The real risk, Mises would say, is that we might undermine the very foundation of what it means to be human, the foundation of human action itself.